So I've spoken about this story a few times, and I think it's a story that came late, just a story that also sums up, before I talk about the story, it just sums up the entire philosophy of the book, the saga of 100 years. And that's where I kind of attach my interests to that story. And it starts in 1915 in the Battle of Neuve Chapelle in Belgium, when British forces, the British Indian Army, was one army where every second soldier was an Indian soldier. So 40,000 British troops, British Indian Army troops, were mounting an attack on the German army in the battle in the village of Neuve Chapelle in Belgium. The Germans counterattacked viciously. Initially, the British Indian Army progressed and gained some land, but the German army counterattacked viciously. So one of the soldiers was Subadar Manta Singh, who was part of the Punjab regiment, and he was in the battle. To cut it short, so he was in the battle. He was fighting, and there was this. There's shells falling everywhere, the bullets flying. It was an absolute mayhem, and it was a fog of war. There, in the fog of war, what does he see? He sees his company commander, Lieutenant George Henderson, and he's shot in the arm, he's shot in the abdomen. So George Henderson shot there. So Manta Singh sees George Henderson shot and fatally wounded and dying. What does Manta Singh do? He leaps up from his trench and picks up George Henderson, looks around, sees a wheelbarrow, puts him in the wheelbarrow, and wheels him out of the battle. But in doing so, he gets shot too. Now both of these bravehearts, these soldiers, are out of the battle. The battle is still going on. They're out of the battle. He's rescued his company commander, but he's got fatally wounded. 8 months later, Manta Singh is taken to a hospital in Brighton, and George Henderson is treated in the hospital nearby. 8 months later, George Henderson receives the news that Manta Singh's leg has been amputated. 10 months later, news arrives for George Henderson that Manta Singh has died. George Henderson is sad. He's shocked. He's devastated. He needs to do something. What does he do? He goes to Punjab, seeks out George Henderson's son, Asa Singh, brings him over to England, gets him into the British Army, gets him educated, gets him into the British Army, and in the Second World War, 3 decades later, in the Second World War, Asa Singh, who was a major then, Asa Singh was a colonel in the Second World War. So Asa Singh and George Henderson's son, Robert Henderson, fight shoulder to shoulder against Rommel's forces in North Africa. Second generation of the soldiers, after the first generation had Manta Singh had rescued his company commander. The second generation fought shoulder to shoulder in North Africa. Incredible story. The meat of the story is thereafter, because India becomes independent. Now there's two nations, right? After the independence, Manta Singh's grandson, which is Asa Singh's son, Jaimal Singh, and Robert Henderson's son, Ian Henderson, are also in touch. They are also together in a UN force in the 60s. This is a third generation, which goes on. The story continues. Incredible story of 3 generations, where it begins from the rescue of George Henderson by Manta Singh in the trench of Neuve Chapelle. But the story doesn't end there, because the story continues a little further. And today, as we stand, as we sit here, as we discuss this, it's been 100 years and over. But the two families are still in touch. How? The two families meet every 2 years in the Chhatri Memorial, which is there in Brighton, as a memorial for Manta Singh for having rescued George Henderson in 1915. The two families are together. They meet every 2 years to commemorate that great incident many years ago. So this is how they look. And this is an extended family of soldiers and their families extended over 100 years. This encapsulates the philosophy of the book, which covers 100 years of history, of stories of human beings across different identities, across different continents, soldiers, etc.
Every second soldier in World War II was an Indian, in World War I was an Indian, and yet and we have a film panel which will happen. None of the Hollywood films, the biggest ones, whether it is Dunkirk or whether it is 1917, none of them shows anything to do with British Indian Army fighting shoulder to shoulder in the fields of Flanders or in Normandy or wherever it is.